Next, coming up, we'll have the East Infra panel. Host and guest speakers, could you come up front?
Hi, I'm Lacey, and I help lead investments at the Protocol Labs Fund. A lot of people don't know what Protocol Labs is sometimes, so I'll do a quick intro on that. Protocol Labs is a research, development, and deployment studio that has built several fundamental building blocks that are EVM compatible of crypto infrastructure. So these things include libp2p, IPFS, and Filecoin. But today we are not talking about that. We're going to zoom in on Ethereum. So I think most people know what Ethereum is at this point. It was very revolutionary when it came out because it basically enabled for the first time people to build decentralized apps and programs that served as more than just a store of value exchange and introduced smart contracts, which unlocked a myriad of potential use cases for all blockchain developers and decentralized technology. And today, the Ethereum ecosystem is probably the most prominent one that there is. So there's probably around 19,000 active developers in crypto as of October. And 30% of those are actually focused on Ethereum or EVM compatible platforms. So today, we've gathered these wonderful panelists to have a nuanced discussion on the state of the ecosystem as it is and learn more about what they're doing in it. So I would love if each of you could just go around and introduce yourselves, starting with your role, organization, and the latter's contributions to the Ethereum ecosystem.
Yeah, sure thing. First, I'd like to thank Foresight for having us here. And yeah, I am Sam. I work on Node Guardians. Node Guardians is basically a platform to onboard very skilled developers on credible ecosystems. The way we achieve this is by writing complex programming challenges called the Quest. If you're able to break them, we generate a credential, a proof that states that you're able to, I don't know, implement an elliptic curve, break such kind of contracts, etc. And in parallel to this, because the product is actually a public good for developers, we do run infrastructure so that we can generate revenue without exerting any pressure on the end user. So no ads, no emails, no pop-up, no whatsoever, in order to keep the place as immaculate as possible for potential hackers to use it. So this is what we do. And in regards to our contributions to the space, we've done a lot of open source across like in the Ethereum space, providing like different resources, dashboards, validator resources. We try to work closely, particularly like at the Eigenlayer working group, for instance, or on Espresso and other things at the earliest stage as possible. And we spend a lot of time on research forums, challenging different designs that are proposed, and also like offering our own perspectives on how things could eventually be done. So that would be it, I would say.
Well, hi everyone. My name is RJ. Thank you, Foresight, for having this panel. I'm a core contributor at Lambda Class and a founder at Grind Labs. Lambda Class is a venture studio focusing distributed systems and cryptography, and in particular in the Ethereum ecosystem. It has been helping scale Ethereum by contributing a lot in the critical infrastructure of multiple L2s, and also creating an Ethereum client in a language called Elixir. And at Grind Labs, what we're doing is building applications using this infrastructure to help users facilitate transferring assets between multiple L2s and trading, in particular in Starknet. Lambda Class is very focused in trying to foster the community by having bootcamps around cryptography and also the Ethereum client node, so developers can learn from the team, and also so we can collaborate with many others and decentralize also the community. So it's not the knowledge is not only centralized in the team, but also others can understand how things work and contribute in the future. So yeah, it's mostly hardcore engineering, but we want to help not only with code, but also with a community that is focused in just code and actually scaling and helping Ethereum be the financial layer for the future.
Yeah. Hey, hello guys. Welcome to Foresight's Summit. I'm Luka. I'm from Morphism, and I'm working on the developer relations side. So technically, more reason we're working on to build a more efficient and more secure layer 2. So we're also working on the decentralized cluster area that is supposed to be implemented in every ROPS. And we also trying to solve problems with optimistic EVM. So trying to solve that problem that OP ROPS don't have the fraud proof enabled. So definitely we're working to build a better infra on top of Ethereum. Yeah, I think that's it. And also, I get to meet RJ and Sam days ago, so really looking forward to have another round nice conversation. Yeah.
I'd love if we could start by discussing one underrated aspect of the Ethereum ecosystem that you think deserves more attention. And maybe we could start with you, Sam.
Sure thing. So it depends on what you mean, on what we mean about Ethereum infrastructure. But if we're talking about the broader Ethereum stack, the core Ethereum, I think that the biggest concern should be not necessarily scaling data availability resources, etc., which is becoming a meme now, but working on preventing state growth. And there are interesting works that are being conducted with vertical trees. So the state is stored with Merkle proofs, which are growing in size as the amount of events compound. And with this interesting cryptography, you can have like constant size proofs. And I think that is a very interesting avenue to explore, as we'll be able to have systems that accommodate more people, yet remain decentralized because operators can join them without having to sync a bunch of data. So that's an interesting avenue to explore. So that would be my take on this.
Awesome. Do you agree, RJ, or is there something else that you think deserves more attention?
Yeah, I generally agree. I believe light clients are something that we are lacking in Ethereum, and a lot of other blockchains are really focused on. For example, if we look at Bitcoin, that's something that has been offering for almost from the beginning. And not only that, but one of the things that we notice in Lambda is that a lot of the infrastructure that we use is really good, but also there's still some room to improve. Maybe not from 0 to 1, but improving the clients, making sure there are not only more diversity, but a more robust infrastructure for data. Now we are looking, for example, at MEV. That's something that I think that should be paying more attention. Not only looking forward to adding new features, but making sure a lot of the tech stack that we actually have today is more reliable and more diverse in the type of features it offers for specific type of users. For example, people that do data analytics, maybe they need different kind of client with different needs, right? And not only that, but for example, if we want others to spin off validators and everything, I think part of the infrastructure should also be to make sure it's easy and understandable how to participate in the discussions and also how to help run this type of clients and RPC nodes and everything.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. But as Morphine, we're working on the scaling solution side. So my point is going to be on that side. So I think the biggest issues right now is the security and the efficiency of the Ethereum layer 2 scaling solutions, especially rollups. I think like right now, there's like a two big problems existing within the layer 2 space. One is like I just said, that most of the OP ROPs don't have their fraud proof enabled. So it's technically a big problem. And secondly, like theoretically, like most of the ROPs, they inherited the security from Ethereum. But to be frankly, like there are still a lot of security issues that need to be addressed of the ROP itself. Like what happens if your sequencer is down? What happens if your validator is down? So definitely we need to more focus on that part. I think like for the past 2 years, most of the scaling solutions, their ultimate goal or their one goal is to make it work first. But I think it's about time, like we need to at least for scaling solutions to provide the same similar security level, at least with the other alternative layer ones. So I think that's a goal. That's also what we're working on right now. Yeah, I think that's one part. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think one of you might have also mentioned interoperability. So I think this is something that we've also often heard touted as very key to the success of blockchain. So would love to hear how each of you are addressing this in the platforms that you're building today.
Maybe I can start. So a Lambda class, I mean, we have two things in interoperability going on in our family. One is in Lambda class, we're building a cryptography library for building primitives for zero knowledge applications or other cryptography tools. And I think zero knowledge plays a really big role in the bridge design scenario for the future, and currently is. So that's one of the things we're looking at. And currently, for example, there's a team building a bridge between Min and Ethereum and using this library. And in the future, we would like to use it more. And also at Grind Labs, we're looking more from the application point of view of how to use this type of technologies, in particular storage proofs, to allow interoperability between all of the rollups and trying to create a new financial application on top of it that is secure, fast, and cheap. So that's the area we're looking at currently with cryptography.
On our side, we also do believe that it is important to increase awareness about what a bridge is and what are the security assumptions behind them and how they are engineered behind the curtain. So we do design actually programming challenges and tasks that actually help people have a better understanding of how, I don't know, like roll-up bridges are actually implemented and how they could actually do their very own primitive bridge. We do get involved on the infrastructure side by validating certain bridges, like multi-sig ones, but also supporting different initiatives that introduce bridging with like different trust assumptions, trust minimized bridging, for instance, with Herodotus, and that is pretty much it. But increasing awareness about what a good bridge is and what a less good bridge is also definitely important. Then, in regards to whether all these bridges whether we'll need all these bridging frameworks, etc., is still like debatable. But yeah, that's what we would do.
Awesome.
Yeah, it depends on like which side. Like if we're talking about bridges, so on our side, like one thing we're trying to do is we're trying to make the challenge period within the OP rollups shorter, so that can help like you don't need to wait like 7 days for withdraw your assets. So that's on the technical side. But I'm happy Jessy's here too. But like if we're talking about like general people side, I think we definitely need not just the communication between like rollups, blockchains. We need more communication between developers, between different projects. So yeah, I think that's my point. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think we just had another panelist join. So Jessy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, this is Jessy. I am the ecosystem lead at Eigenlayer. And for those of you who do not know what Eigenlayer is, it's super simple. Forget about restaking. Just think, Ethereum has 900,000 nodes or computers out there, or validators, right? These computers can do a lot of functionalities like storage, like computation, networking. Basically, they have a lot more capacity right now to do more things. And what Eigenlayer does is that it creates a job marketplace for these computers to run additional tasks, to earn additional rewards, and if they don't do it correctly, then they get slashed. So essentially, restaking comes in where stakers like you and me put in our ETH to Eigenlayer to essentially delegate our ETH to these operators to run more tasks. So that's super simple. I lead the ecosystem. What that means is, what are these cool things that you can do with Eigenlayer? Essentially, I help grow that part of the ecosystem. We call them AVS, Actively Validated Service. So that's me and Eigenlayer. Open for questions. I don't know where we're at. And sorry about being a little late, stuck in traffic just now.
Again later.
The traffic is really bad here.
Yeah.
The energy is so good, Jessy.
Thank you. I try.
Awesome. So I'd love to, since we're talking about, I feel like we've mentioned nodes and like security and eigenlayers. One of the use cases that people also talk about is security. I'd love to ask you, Sam, if you could describe, you kind of looked at me like, what? I'd like to ask you if you could describe some of the magic behind maintaining very robust and secure nodes and how you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that the most important thing is to prevent double signing, even if it's at the expense of liveness failures or being less available. And so the way we would do it at Node Guardians is rather simple. We would have, like, ideally multiple DevOps and SREs on different time zones that are ready to intervene at any time. In regards to maintaining Ethereum infrastructure, which is its very own thing, you would like to make sure that for each VM you have a limited amount of keys that are running on those, so that you also mitigate the risk of importing twice the same key on a given validator, which could lead to slashing, and that would be helpful. So you can create custom tooling to avoid that fatal outcome. And obviously, you also want to run like multiple clients for the good sake of Ethereum and prioritize the ones that are less used, like hopefully soon the Elixir client that Lambda class is working on. And on top of that, using VPC isolation, cloud providers are good because they provide SLAs. You can mix multiple providers to increase the resilience of your infrastructure, but always keeping in mind that the only thing that you don't want to do is double signing, and that also applies with other networks that we support. This is what we would prioritize. It's been like a little bit of time that we've been doing this, and we haven't had any incidents so far. We hope that it can remain this way. So yeah, I think that's. Another thing that's important. You also want to make sure that you follow the progress of Ethereum. So you have to lurk on forums, on Discords, and join multiple working groups to know what's next for Ethereum and the potential middlewares that can sit on top of your validator. So you can maximize value out of your activity while also understanding at a deeper level what could be the primitives that sit on top of it. And so there's the working group by Eigenlayer that's been out there, and you can also dabble with multiple AVS, like as I said earlier, Espresso and stuff like that. So ultimately, being curious is also a very interesting thing to inject in your team, so that they eventually have more fun at work and have a deeper understanding of the tools they manipulate, and contribute to open source. Whenever you build something that's cool, ideally you want to share it with the others. It reinforces the brand of you as a staking provider, and it makes the ecosystem better. So open source, your dashboards, whatever you've built for your monitoring stack, your images, doesn't matter, but try to do it when it's meaningful.
And I think the concept there of kind of like lurking in the Ethereum ecosystem and kind of trying to stay on top of trends is really interesting. I'd love to ask you, Luka, what kind of trends do you see in the Ethereum ecosystem, and how do you think it's going to change over time as things continue?
I think one big trend I'm looking at right now is like previously for the past like 5 or 6 years, most of the applications, decentralized applications on Ethereum or on any kinds of blockchains, they're all financing apps or focus on the tradings, and that's the reason because like those applications they don't focus mostly on transaction costs because they can expand more from what they're doing. And also they are kind of a low frequency, so they're like there's not a high requirement for TBS stuff. But as we were evolving from Ethereum to a next roadmap, so we're focusing on the roll-up stage. We're providing higher TBS or lower cost. I think the trends right now I'm seeing is like everybody wants to have different apps compared to the application compared to the financing apps. They want to use they want to use consumer apps. They want to use GameFi applications. They want to use like different kind of stuff. They like different kind of stuff than trading. So I think that's one big trend we're seeing right now. And also we're working to make these trends push these trends forward because technically there's like 25 or 13 rollups right now, and we're one of them. We definitely don't expect to compete with them, like how many DEXs there on our blockchains, like how many lending protocols on their blockchains. And also one thing I want to mention, like right now, there's the index to evaluate how the blockchain performance is the TVL, like total value locked. So I think it's time to shift from the index of TVL to the actual users, actual activities happening on the layer 2 blockchains. Because with TVL, we're now focusing more on the financing apps, trading apps. But if we're going to use like consumer apps or like GameFi applications, there's not going to be like a lot of capitals, but there's going to be a lot of activities. So that's also one thing I want to mention. Yeah.
And I think that's a really good segue into talking about user growth and acquisition. So I'd love to ask you, Jessy, how does EigenLayer actually foster developer engagement? And what tools are you excited about in the ecosystem?
So a lot of people may know me. I run this thing called Jessy's Hacker House before I joined EigenLayer, and I think just generally having some of the most stacked developers come to our house. They, good people attract good people. So like last night we ran like this event. Like we decided to pull together like the day of, and like 100 people showed up at the house, and they all brought their friends. So generally, like having these hacker house approach is something that we've been exploring. And I think, though, generally, at the end of the day, true alignment is when you see numbers go up. So you can see numbers go up from two different ways. One is essentially you actually make money and fees. The other is through tokens. Let's not talk about the second one. But with the first one, I think just generally being able to work with projects that actually have real product market fit that can generate real fees is something that we're thinking into. And I think the one trend that I've been seeing, or maybe two trends that actually have real use case and real sort of fee generation, are going to be in Uniswap v4 hooks with in-protocol MEV. How do you capture MEV in the upstream before it gets to funnel into the builder, searcher, proposer level? But like, how do you, as a protocol, be able to capture that yourself? How do you create dynamic fees for charging various like users depending on the volatility of the market? And then essentially there's some interesting stuff that we're baking that has to do with that, with Uniswap v4 hooks. The other trend that I'm personally super excited about is Telegram bots. I think Telegram is just a very underlooked interface for getting user acquisition, which is, I think, the number one sort of thing that's missing in crypto, is having this essentially traffic coming in from the real world. So you and I, we all use Telegram, and I think it's like super cool distribution. Like I used to help Zuzulu. There's like this, like network state that, like Vitalik and different people are running. And I ran their hackathon, like Hack Zulu, and we built like 100 projects in the course of 3 months, 2 or 3 months. And the one trend I noticed is that like 20% of those projects were Telegram bots. And what I realized is at the end, even till now, the projects that are really gaining adoption and use case are still these Telegram bots. It's just super accessible. I'm not here to shill like the ton ecosystem. I'm actually, I don't know any of those people, but I think just Telegram as an interface for customer distribution and for actually, community and, actual users and whatnot. Yeah, super excited about Uniswap v4 hooks and Telegram bots.
Awesome. And I think part of user acquisition is naturally also usually education to a certain extent. So I'd love to ask you, RJ, could you discuss how education and community contributions at Lambda class intersect with practical applications and projects like Grind Labs?
Yeah, so as we are trying to build the core infrastructure for Ethereum and its scalability, as I mentioned, we like to invite others to collaborate with us. So one of the things we do, for example, for Ethereum consensus client in Elixir, is not only that we are onboarding and educating other developers to a new language that wasn't accessible in Ethereum before, but we're also trying to be very active in the way we onboard them. So we have, for example, Jessy mentioned Telegram. Telegram is a key tool for us to collaborate with them. And if you go to our Telegram group, it's actually pretty sophisticated now, and it has multiple channels, and part of the interactions we have with them is not only talk about crypto, but also core developer or software engineer values and knowledge. So for the consensus client specific, we're building with others constantly, and some of our senior engineers are constantly trying to help others and make sure our repository is extremely easy to set up so anyone can participate. But at the same time, what I think has been a huge success was the bootcamps that we have been hosting. We have two bootcamps currently going on. One of them is for the consensus client. This allows some developers that were selected to not only learn, but also participate in the development of the project. So they are learning, but also at the same time helping and being part of the history of Ethereum. And for the cryptography bootcamp that has been going on for almost 10 weeks, it has been a huge success. And in this case, we are onboarding cryptographers and developers so they can collaborate and build cryptography primitives. And I think one of the things that was really unique about our bootcamp was not only theory, but it's like, okay, you learn this, but you code. If you don't code, you're not going to learn the same way. And that has been, for the past few days we have been here, we met a lot of people who participate in our bootcamps, and they have been really happy with it. And what we are going to do now is a Starnet bootcamp that is more related to the application level for Grind Labs. And what we want to do is, okay, we have this infrastructure and we have all of this community of developers. Why don't we try building more stuff and see what happens? So instead of just learning is what I say, fuck around and find out. That's the idea for the application level. And it's key to have developers who have the core engineer values, but also actually like to test stuff and see what breaks. Because if we don't push the limits, we will never be able to see exactly how is the tooling and where are the limits of the infrastructure. So the community is key for us so we can keep growing the infrastructure and find more people to build applications.
And so I think we're almost out of time. So for the last question, I want to ask you, as you look to the future with Ethereum as a central player in the blockchain space, what do you believe are the critical steps that need to be taken to ensure the scalability and sustainability of its infrastructure? And let's start with Jessy.
Well, undoubtedly Eigenlayer, of course. So would love to work with you guys here who are sitting in the panel. We can talk afterwards. But yeah, I think just generally, because the new design space that Eigenlayer is able to bring, I was actually just giving a presentation on this yesterday, but you can do everything from, the most basic ones like roll-up services like DA sequencing, bridges, oracles, but you have a lot more other super interesting ones like threshold crypto. How do you do threshold FHE and threshold cryptography to prevent against front running and sandwich attacks? How do you do, essentially like coprocessor on top of Eigenlayer? People know coprocessors mostly around ZK coprocessors, but coprocessor really just means how do you offload compute off-chain to other set of computers to help Ethereum process more functions, right? And just generally a lot of new things like MEV management. And things like, AI, how do you run AI agents, AI inferencing on top of Eigenlayer? I think these bring a set of really exciting features, but I also think that there's a lot of things that can, people can build very weird stuff, like how do you have block exclusion? How do you like censor others? How do you, bribe proposers to not exclude someone's transaction? Things like that we should be super aware of. But yeah, generally, super excited about Eigenlayer, what it can bring to Ethereum in the future. I think it'll be big.
Yeah, I would say if you're talking about next critical step, it's gonna be the next upgrade for Ethereum, Decentralized upgrade. So which gonna introduce EIP 4044. Basically gonna change the way how rollups submit their data to Ethereum. But right now it's gonna just we upgrade and everything else will be ready. But we also need to, for every rollups, to figure out a way how to interact with the blob stuff. And also one other thing I think for Ethereum is credit is also we still need more decentralization into the Ethereum space. Right now, if you look at how many validators we have, we already kind of decentralized enough. But if you look at that, how much staked ETH is controlled by a big LSD services providers and also big centralized exchanges, we still a long way to go. And also there's a lot of for decentralization needs for execution clients, for consensus clients. Yeah, and I think we should take more look into that. Yeah.
Yeah, at least from our side, I think anything with cryptography for the future of Ethereum is really important. I personally would like to see more explorations around. Okay, we have these new cryptography primitives. How can we solve more problems around the infrastructure with it? For example, Sam earlier mentioned Berkel trees. That is an upgrade that is very important. So I personally think cryptography solves more problems than economic incentives for a lot of stuff that we want to do. And yeah, we're really excited to see more people building on top of cryptography. So we don't only help solve some problems, but we can also create new applications. So, for example, we believe CK is a great primitive to build new type of applications on top of Ethereum.
I do hope for better applications because ultimately, I think that Bitcoin and Ethereum have found some kind of demand or market fit, but there's an abundance of block space and new frameworks that are popping up and that are yet to eventually be in need. There's like a bunch of solutions that are popping up, yet at the application level, things are not getting there. So if we can provide tools for people to get to a production level in regards to smart contract programming and build meaningful things in the space, or create an avenue for people to contribute to open source and eventually switch from their Web 2 job to do things in Web 3 without being afraid of doing the biggest mistake of their lives. Hopefully, we'll also that will contribute to Ethereum being a more meaningful solution and being more sound, as these people in their endeavors to build meaningful applications will eventually find themselves contributing to the core stack and make it better. But I just hope that we can remain a bit more like cautiously optimistic about things and really try to address that problem. There's been a lot of great improvements at the infrastructure and protocol levels that enable people to have better onboarding experiences, account abstraction, I don't know, whatever, better block times, cheaper block space on rollups, ease to deploy an L3, an L4, an L77. But we will need to use that block space and make sure that it composes in a proper way. So ultimately, I do believe that there will be more efforts to onboard builders in the space. And I also do believe that less resources are allocated to some initiatives that are, in my humble opinion, a little bit of an intellectual masturbation, because we do know that they might not serve a real need. So maybe less like, I don't know. That would be my take on this.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for taking the time to speak, and thank you all to Foresight Ventures for hosting us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah, I think that's it for the morning panels. Thank you again for our great panelists and panel hosts. Great conversations about not just about infrastructure, but also about use cases and the future of Ethereum. Great conversations. Thank you again. So that's it for our morning panels. Feel free to grab some food and drinks outside. And our afternoon session will start on 12:40. 12:40. See you guys again.